Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this conversation. Today we're going to talk about PIM for retailers, and we're going to talk about the role for PIM for different retailers, but also what is the best way to get started. What are the main trends that you see for PIM in the market at the moment, but also more in general? And I'm going to have that conversation today with Chris Jobsen. Chris Jobsen, welcome.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be invited by Raoul from KatanaPIM, and well, I have already quite a big time in retail and PIM, and more than 25 years. Really, the start of the PIM solutions, the e-com solutions in the Netherlands and also abroad. So I hope to give some useful information to you.
Yeah, perfect. So you're also active with PIM vendors, of course. Can you
That's
maybe
right.
tell a little bit about what you guys do with PIM vendors?
Yeah. With PIM vendors, actually, what we do, we advise companies on product information, and it doesn't have to be really on the PIM, the tool itself, but it's also about the processes, how to organize your business so you can benefit from a product information management tool. And also, we're looking into what company are you really, what are your needs, because there are many PIMs out in the world, and some of them will fit, and others maybe not 100%. So that's where we are an independent advisor on.
Yeah, so you just cover a lot of different PIM vendors in the market, and you advise different companies.
Sure,
What's the
because
best solution?
there are PIM solutions which originate from print solutions and are obviously dedicated more to printing. Others are more dedicated to e-commerce, or some of them are suitable for really big enterprise companies, and others are more suitable for smaller companies. So there's a lot of differentiation in this.
Yeah. Yeah, today we're going to talk about it also a little bit the difference about what a PIM does for a retailer, but also how it maybe differentiates when you're more a wholesaler or a brand itself. So from that retailer, from the perspective, how can a PIM help also in your daily processes, just optimizing your operations?
Yeah, there's what's the purpose of your PIM? That's the question. Do you have many channels where you provide customers with information about products? Channels like marketplaces, like e-commerce, e-com sites, but also other more internal channels in your company. And so it's very important to have one vision and one view of your product. It doesn't have to be the same information for every channel, but it needs to be consistent. And there, it really helps to get things consistent within this repository of information on a product.
Yeah, one of the things that we see also for retailers, if you, for instance, look at a brand, is where a retailer's very dependent on the information they get also from the wholesalers or the retailers up in that front. What is your experience also on that part? Like the difference between how you can use a PIM from getting that information and working on it?
Yeah, there's quite a big difference, because as a brand or manufacturer, actually you're producing data, and this data has to be stored somewhere. So that a PIM can be very useful for that. But as a retailer, you're receiving data, and this data has to be harmonized, and it needs to be put in your model. There will be many different suppliers, and maybe suppliers providing information for the same product. So you need to recognize this, and you need to transform this data to your own data model. And therefore, a PIM for a retailer needs to be very strong in this part, because it can be hundreds of suppliers. So you have to be flexible on this part of your PIM, because a PIM consists actually of more than just one function. It's the onboarding of your data. It's the enriching of your data, with the enriching in the sense of that this is the product you as a retailer want to give to your audience. And then there are different output channels which all demand different formats, for instance, because when you export to Amazon, there will be different formats than when you export to your own e-com site or to another company, to GS1, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. And I think one of the things that we also see is what is the difficult part for a retailer is really standing out across all those other sellers, which are basically also selling the same product. Let's say if you have a Nike shoe, that Nike shoe is being sold by so many different retailers. So you need to have a tool which can help you also really to stand out. One for SEO ranking purposes, but also if you're selling on marketplaces and stuff like that. So I think that's very important. Important on
Yeah,
that as well.
all those retailers will get the same information from the supplier. So you have to do something to be unique as as a retailer. But this can be done manually, but of course it's a lot of work. And with high-end products with high margin, it makes sense. But when you have products with low margin, it doesn't make sense. So there are other tools within the PIM or working together with the PIM. With you can make unique content, and it's not about dimensions and things like that, because that's all the same. When something is 23 centimeters, it stays 23 centimeters. But when the commercial descriptions can be really different.
Yeah, I think I think that's really helps you when you centralize that information as well. I think one of the funny things that you said, I'm very curious, is you can do it manually. That's what you said, but it's a lot of work. What is because often companies come to you, they currently have a situation they want to change, they want to optimize their current operations. What is the one of the biggest mistakes retailers make in or managing their product information, like their operational process around it? And what are the mistakes that you see, and what is the main reason why they come to you guys for, hey, we do need a centralized solution which can help us?
Yeah, well, what happens quite a lot is, okay, we have Excel, so why should we do something else? But when you and I are maintaining one Excel sheet, we already have a problem with getting things in sync. Let alone when you work with 3, 4, 5, 6 people or departments even on the same product. There's still this thought, okay, the product comes in, the information comes in, and first, it has to be in MDM part. Then it goes to this. Then it goes to this. Okay, we need an image. We get it from the supplier, or we make the image ourselves. But it's all sequential tasks. Whereas when you work with a PIM, you can do things simultaneously. So you can collaborate on a product, actually shortening the time
Yeah,
to get a
exactly.
product live.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I try to key on as well is minimizing manual errors, but also communication errors, because you work over different departments, so you're not missing out on important stuff. What is the role or the knowledge base that a retailer needs to get started on a PIM to really optimize that information and their operations? But at the same time, if they don't have that knowledge, what are the options there? So if you don't have
Yeah.
in-house expertise, what is
First of
the
all,
things?
there needs to be um, the sense and the urgency from the management, because when it's not there, you can do a lot of things within the organization, but it's not going to be sustainable. So you need the support of the management. They need to know, okay, we want to go to the next level. Then you need to have people who understand the processes. So you need to get the processes in place. You need to get the existing product data cleansed, because there's always a lot of information with different sources, not really harmonized, and you need to do this. Otherwise, it's still a mess, and it stays a mess. So you need to take the thing from really from the bottom and start. You can't do everything in once, but start with a part of the assortment and start cleansing and learn from this process and grow in this process.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm a retailer, I'm a business owner, I think, okay, we need to do something different. We need a PIM solution. I'll probably come to you guys because you guys can advise me on PIM vendor side. Hey, what is the best vendor that fits my need? If I don't have in-house expertise, what are my
Yeah. Well, what we do is when we come into the company, we ask several stakeholders to come together. We will guide this process, and we will ask people from e-commerce, from marketing, from supply chain, from merchandising, all kind of people who are touching on the product. We ask them questions. We have a methodology for this. We ask them questions, and an IT manager has different needs than a marketing manager. So we need to get them together, because there are always kind of hidden factories inside the company because the marketing manager will say, "Oh, we do this," and then it's finished, or the IT manager says, "We do this," and it's finished, and then suddenly there pops up, "Oh, but we have a SharePoint here, and there we do this, and otherwise it doesn't work." So that's the kind of things we see often.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think one of the things that you said is like you get the stakeholders, and then you start mentioning we have marketing, we have e-commerce, we have IT, we have maybe somebody from finance or supply chain. So a PIM solution is not just a marketing tool or some e-commerce tool. It's a tool for the whole
Actually,
organization.
historically, it started as being a marketing tool. So we had this big ERP and defined several additional fields in the ERP, but it didn't work that way. And then they put on top of this, they put an Excel sheet because they thought, okay, we can manage this. And the next step was, okay, we start with the PIM. So then it starts with ERP and goes to the PIM, and from the PIM it goes to the different channels. So that's the historical way of developing this landscape. Whereas now there are more and more situations where you start with a PIM solution, a product comes in, you can manage this much more easily in a PIM with all the workflows than you can do within an ERP, and you can manage this process of completing this product within the PIM, and then send the information which is needed for the ERP to the ERP. Send the information which is needed for the e-commerce solution, send it to the e-commerce solution. So that's another way of thinking. That's really historically it's changed during time.
Yeah, it's more a collaborative tool at the moment where multiple departments can work together on the same product information. And then
Sure.
also, of course, the distribution from a PIM is very important because that data has to go somewhere. So you have your online channels, but you also have your retailers. You might also have print where you have to print your catalogs and everybody. We're going to
Exactly.
talk a little bit about digital product passport as well, like one of the trends that are coming up. So exporting data, of course, is a main feature of a PIM. What are other things that a retailer or business owner should look at when they're looking at PIM? What kind of features do you zone in
Yeah.
on?
We're also always looking at the complexity of the products. Because when you have a simple product, you have maybe a t-shirt where you have the dimensions and the color. That's relatively simple. But when you have electronic devices, it's much more difficult. So the data model also needs to be capable of handling this. And not all PIM solutions can do this in a proper way. There are always workarounds, but uh, it's much more strong when you can do this in a native way. So that's also one of the things where we look into also the usability of the solution. Many systems are let's put it another way. People are used to work in Excel, and they want to do the same work in an Excel-like way of working. And more and more PIM solutions are providing this kind of solution. So you don't have to export data and import it again. You can do the work within the PIM solution, and maybe in some other also using the data model to 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 make it more easy to maintain your products. When you have again this T-shirt on the top level, you define okay, it's 90% cotton and 10% something else, but it's all the T-shirts which are under this top level having
Yeah,
this information.
exactly.
Changing the information, you do it in one spot, whereas there are maybe 100 T-shirts below this. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
that's an example of how you can maintain a product much more easily and clever.
Yeah, I think that's what we notice as well. I think product variants are one of the key things that we see with size variants, color variants, of course, for the t-shirt. But also, if you look at electronics, there's so many different variation types that you can see. So from that perspective, so knowing and understanding of a retailer, hey, looking at my company, looking at the type of products that I have, How do you also look at, and that's maybe interesting as well, looking at maybe already looking at one of the biggest trends that is coming at us very fast, the digital product passport, which you are very knowledgeable for. So I'm very happy to pick your brain a little bit about it. But is looking at a product data doesn't only go now to your direct sales channels like web shop and stuff like that, but you already mentioned GS1, where as a retailer you're probably not sending information, but you're retrieving data.
Receiving, yeah.
But you're also sharing it maybe to your catalog, like your print, to your marketing team, to your InDesign, but also digital product passport. So before diving into digital product passport, do you take that in consideration? Also, the dependencies of the different toolings that are coming.
This comes all down to how you set up your PIM. When we look at the bigger picture, I just mentioned you can put PIM in front and then the ERP, but you also can start with your ERP and then your PIM, and so there are many ways of this global or more general setup. But within the PIM, you also have an architecture. And what I often see is that companies starting with the PIM, they have a need. This need is, most cases, is e-commerce, for instance. So they are starting to organize their data model for the e-commerce. But then they forget that there maybe are more different output channels with other needs. So when you start with a data model, a generic data model for all your products based on product features, then you can start using this in all kind of satellite models for your e-commerce. A product on your e-commerce site can be on multiple pages, but you want to maintain this product only once. So that's you're doing in your maintenance model, but you have your e-commerce model. You have your print model where you can start organizing your catalog from within your PIM, within this, and organize the structure of your catalog before sending it to InDesign. So you already can prepare this. You can do this for your marketplaces. You can do this for all kind of output channels. And this also has a big advantage doing it this way, because when something happens with the product, there's a recall or something else, you immediately can see what the impact is for all your output channels.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. That, again, and it all comes back now to working on your data model, understanding what's my product type, what are the dependencies, but also the restrictions of the different, let's say, end channels that I use. So my sales channels, but also the print and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So again, and that's something which is very important that we always push when we have conversations with different clients is what is the expertise level that you have in your company? Because it is not something you have to take lightly. So introducing a PIM, as you said, it's an actual project. It's actually something that will affect your whole company.
Exactly. We use a maturity model for companies where is you, at what level are you in with your product data.
Yeah.
And this maturity model can be used within the company. And then, okay, I'm at level 1, and I have ambition to go to level 3, not immediately to level 5, because that's not really needed. Just step by step. What do you need to do to raise your maturity level? So we can make a program with the company to organize this. It means sometimes hiring new people or training people on certain topics, because when people are trained, they can do maybe much more and much more intelligent work than just typing in products.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think it has more impact than just a product on a website.
Yeah,
So
sure,
it's
sure.
just
Yeah.
way more. And also now you see, because with retail, you see a lot like online versus brick and mortar, or not even versus brick and mortar, but together with brick and mortar. What are the things that you have to take in consideration when you want to use that PIM to also supply, let's say, your POS system or
Yeah.
other sites?
Typical example is you have a product description, and this product description, when you use it in your brochure, the weekly brochure, it has a limited amount of space. When you use it on your website, you can use much more space. When you have to use it on your shelf label, it's really limited. Or on the checkout, the bill, it's also limited. But you want to keep it consistent. Within the PIM, you have different multiple descriptions, and when you have them together, you can keep it clean, and you can keep it consistent over your product. You have the view of all the descriptions, and only the people who are working on the digital shelf label are able to edit this field and are not able to edit the information going to the brochure or to the website, things like that.
So taking consideration of limitations on space, how many characters you can use for a certain description is again something that will come back as well. All right. And now we talk about your shelf, your point of sales, your web shop. Well, we covered all those stuff. And now I think a very important one that's coming up. That's a digital product passport. Can you just give a short summary? What does it mean? Get just a short introduction of what it is.
Well, in 2017, the European Commission they defined 17 sustainable development goals. So sustainability is the base of the digital product passport. And then in 2019, there was the launch of the European Green Deal, which was ratified in 2024. So it's already 9 years talking before there was a kind of agreement that the Eco Design for Sustainable Product Regulation, ESPR, was defined. In this ESPR was actually and based on the 17 development goals, there are actually 4 of them which are base for the definition of the digital product passport. We need to know where a product consists of, where it's been manufactured, and all kind of information around this product needs to be captured. And it's sometimes it's not very difficult to define what you want to capture, but it's difficult to get all the information down the line because you have to go down the whole supply chain to the origin of the product. The company, whether it be a retailer, wholesaler, or a manufacturer who is actually introducing this product in the European market, is responsible for the fact that they need to capture all this information. That's quite a challenge. So, so to say, in 2027, the first DPP, and it's about battery passport, is mandatory. But it needs to go back to 26, that's already next year, where you have to capture all this information because you have to do reporting in 2027 over 2026. And in the coming years, also textile is the next one coming up. Normally with textile, it takes a few years down the line before going in a new collection. So therefore, okay, we need really to start to capture all this information to be ready to present this information. And this information is interesting because when you buy a shirt, there's a QR code in this, and you can scan this, and there you can find a lot of information about what materials are being used, but also where it's manufactured, where it's colored, where it's etc. All this information is there, but also how you can repair things, how things needs to be recycled. So there is a lot of more information in this QR code than we have nowadays on a product.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
all contributes to this sustainable environment we want to achieve, because that's the goal, to have a reduction of CO2 emission by 55% in 2030 compared to 1990. And in 2050, we need to make Europe the first climate neutral continent. So it's quite a challenge, and
That's quite
of
a challenge,
course
yeah.
the world, it's a European thing, but the world has to contribute, because when something comes out from China
We
and
need that
imported in
information.
Europe, you need this information.
Yeah. And is it then, I think, where the digital product passport is mostly for consumers, where they can make a conscious decision on the type of products that they buy? Or do you see also a bigger goal behind it?
It's more than that. It's more than that. Is something the consumers can see on this digital passport. You scan, you go to a page. This page needs to be available. This page needs to be available the next 25 years, because when you have a machine with all spare parts, you need to know what's in this machine. Also, even when a company goes bankrupt or this specific product is not longer in the market for sale, you need to be able to repair it or to recycle it. So this information needs to be available for the coming 25 years. So
So
that's a
it's
challenge.
bigger. Yeah, exactly. It's bigger. And how do you see what do you see the role of a PIM being in this whole process?
Yeah, in the information you need to capture, most of the information, I say most of the information, can be captured in a PIM. And in fact, a lot of information is already available, but it's not centralized. So you can centralize this in a PIM. It also, there are three different ways of the digital product passport. And the first one where we are focusing on now is on the model level. So it's a more generic level of a PIM of all the products. It's the information it's relevant for the product line, but you also have the batch level, which is information which are based on groups of products who are produced in the same circumstances. And this information is not always available in a PIM, and then you have to go to your ERP because there you have the information on batches and things like that. So it's a combination. And then you also have the item level where you can go on the specific pure SKU level of a product, and that's not relevant for all products, but
Can be, yeah.
for it can be relevant for big machines or things like that, which consist of a lot of different parts. Then it can be relevant for the item level, and then even it's more granulated, so it's more difficult.
Yeah. And I can imagine that's for retailers there will be a big challenge because they're very dependent on the wholesaler and the manufacturers to deliver that data. What are the things that you where retailers can prepare themselves or help themselves to already get into the flow of things?
Start demanding this information from your suppliers. That's one thing, and be ready also to capture this information to be able to present this information. And this can be well. Then you come into the commercial part of the negotiations, give them some credits when they do deliver the information, or as a branch, demand that they deliver this information to GS1, for instance. And then you can get your information from GS1 and not you alone, but others in the branch as well. So that's what we are saying also, that the branch is very strong, organized, and they demand the information to be delivered to GS1.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was wondering. I think GS1 can be a main player to help a lot of retailers. They're already doing that right with delivering the right contents in the right formats. But do you also see a role for them to just making sure that the wholesalers, or at least the manufacturers, deliver that product passport or at least the information from the
Yeah,
product
but
passport already?
the demand is coming from the retailers because they demand their suppliers. Okay, you can give me this information, but when you do this via GS1, it's much easier for me as a retailer because I'm getting this information from your product, but also from other suppliers, and they
Yeah.
have one place to go. So also for the suppliers, actually, they have to deliver it once to GS1 and not to 10 or 20. So retailers who want things in all different kind of formats.
Yeah, exactly. I think such an interesting topic, and I think we can cover another 2 hours about it. Please, please note that for every listener, on the 2nd and the 3rd of April, there's the Webwinkel Vakdagen in Utrecht. Please visit by. Also, come visit the KatanaPIM stand. We're going to have a presentation from Chris about the digital product passport, and he's going to be there live. So you can also ask him your questions directly. And of course, contact PIM vendors if you need more information regarding this, if you want to get prepared and get started ahead of time with getting all your information on the digital product passport. We covered a lot of grounds. I just want to zoom out a little bit because we talked a lot about like really the in-depth trends about digital product passport GS1. Other trends that you see, I think last time we talked to your colleague Stefan Spijkers talking about, of course, the come up on AI. What are next to AI? What are other trends that you see coming up in the PIM world?
Ooh, good question, because there's a lot of things moving.
Yes.
But actually, getting your processes right, that's the most important one. And the legislation which is coming keeps everybody very busy at the moment, and a lot of people are not really aware of this yet. Yesterday I was at a conference and also talked about digital product passport, and a lot of people, okay, what is this? And there were a lot of manufacturers there and also retailers, and actually they have to start now. That's the point. They have to start now. And of course, it's not all clear yet what definitions, but you can start with the processes. You can start with the general structure, and if there's going to be an attribute more or less, that's not really the big thing. But if you don't start now, you're too late.
Yeah, exactly.
And then AI, what you mentioned, is something which can help, because it can help a lot with classification, for instance, for products. When you have products from your supplier and you have all the characteristics of your products, a product can be classified in a way that that you can keep it in your maintenance structure in your PIM, and that's the most important thing. So educate also your organization and your people so they can work with.
I think that's an interesting one, because at the beginning of the conversation you talked about the different departments being dependent on a PIM. I remember in a time where in e-commerce you had an e-commerce manager, and that was a whole e-commerce branch of a company. That e-commerce branch is now grown to a whole team where there's an e-commerce manager. There's of course the content manager. There is same time there's a marketplace manager, and so that whole side now grew into a team. Do you also see that now for a PIM where the demand is bigger? Do you also see something changing in companies now where there's like multiple
Yeah,
teams, different
actually,
topics?
what is needed in a company is someone called a chief data officer, because there are so many departments working with data, and you need to get a guidance on this, a governance on this, and it's not just handing over to the next person. You need to see this in the total context. So that's also what we are providing, a chief data officer offering, where we can help companies. And it's not about full-time someone in your company. It's about guidance. It's about getting into the company, seeing what's going on, advising what steps to be made to make your company ready for the next steps.
Yeah, because I think the world is changing so fast. I think we saw that also with SEO. It's not something, it's so difficult to keep that knowledge in-house and stay up to date with all the changes. It's going so fast. So it's very useful to gain outside knowledge and helping your company. I think that's, I think that's very strong. Do you have any closing arguments for today, Chris?
Well, I think we covered quite a lot, and the most important thing is, a tool is important, but most important thing is the people, the processes, the governance on this, and then start working with this, because fool with a tool is still a fool. You need to think about things before you are doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's more than just implementing something and you're done. It's going to be a constant evolvement, right?
Yeah,
So you
sure.
implement it now, but in 6 months you're gonna get better by it, and then you're gonna evolve, and then you're gonna go back. Thank you so much. I think there's a lot of information. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Get a head start also on the
Thank you
digital
very
product
much.
passport. Yeah, you
Yeah.
too. We're gonna see each other on the webwinkel vakdagen. Please visit our stand if you have any questions. Of course, you can contact us as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.